Buenas tardes. Good evening, everyone. We are Las Comadres. I'm Comadre Diosy, and I'm here with.
Comadre Maria.
And how are you doing this lovely evening, Comadre Maria?
Good. We just got finished talking about the Metro Light Rail project that's happening in the
Mm-hmm.
East San Fernando Valley. And I know that I said that we were going to touch a little bit more about that, but honestly, I kind of want to move on to our, our interview. If you're interested in the Metro Light Rail project, there is a meeting happening this Thursday here in Pacoima at the Alicia Burtis Center, Adult Center
On
on
Glen Oaks
Glen
and Van
Oaks.
Nuys.
The information is listed on our Instagram, on our stories. So if you want to check that out, that is there. And
At
then
Voces Unidas en
also
Pacoima on Instagram.
on Instagram. And then just quickly want to give the website for the project. It's www.metro.net slash backslash projects backslash east dash SFV for more information. But yeah, I wanted to just briefly talk about our next guest. Um, they are the Classroom of Compassion. And for folks who don't know, Classroom of Compassion is dedicated to fostering communal healing in the aftermath of public mass gun violence. Based in Los Angeles, their work empowers communities nationwide by creating public memorial spaces that honor the lives, stories, and impact of those affected. Their commitment extends beyond physical memorials. It's through the expression of art, communal grieving, and the power of public spaces which helps provide solace and support for individuals navigating the complex emotions of loss.
Yes.
So, welcome, Noah and David.
Welcome.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm such fans of you guys. I'm just so happy to have you guys here with us.
We are so honored to be here, and we were so thrilled when you asked us to come on with y'all.
Yeah, we are like fans of y'all,
Yes.
so we're gonna geek out too.
Oh my God,
We're geeking out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for us, just starting a new radio, and for myself also, like just starting in this new venture with my best friend, having guests like you that are doing things literally you're doing things across the country that
Yeah.
is so impactful that to me it's such a honor to know you. I've worked a little bit with you in the past. We hung out a little bit at the gala, and we're just so proud and very thankful and lucky to know you guys and for you to be here, taking time out of your schedule. Very thankful for that because we know that time is very, very precious for a lot of folks here in the Valley, so and beyond. So thank you for coming. Jesse.
I mean, honestly, I think I'm a little bit just like in a place of like, there's so many things that I want to talk to you guys about. There's such an impact that you guys have created in my life that even just stepping into, this end of October, beginning of November is a time where, these altares that you guys provide to the community are being used. And that's actually how we met. You guys provided an altar for my family when we lost my father, and it's something that just again like every year is, first of all, that altar lives. It lives in my house. Anybody that walks into my house is the first thing they see.
I say hi to her dad. Whenever I come by her house, I see it. It's there. I say hi to him. I'm like, hi.
Yeah, it's like, and
He's there.
it's a very intentional. It's on
Yeah.
purpose because the way my dad built his house is, as soon as you walk in, there's like this already kind of set up space that is like for showcasing something. And so we used to have a TV there. We're not big on TV, so that TV is no longer there. But after my dad passed, that's where the altar has lived. And so every year, for his birthday, for Father's Day, for Day of the Dead, these very special like moments where we would normally be spending time with him, we go ahead and we celebrate by taking care of that altar and spending time with him through that, because even though he's buried here local in our community, he's up in the hill, at Lopez Canyon up there. And, it's not always easy to make the drive up there and be there, but it's amazing to be able to have that space in my home and to know that like this was gifted by, two people who didn't have to do that. First of all, you guys first of all, you reached out to me in a moment where nobody was reaching out to me. I was actually reaching out to folks trying to get support. Um, you know, my dad's loss was super sudden. So absolutely nobody, the community was going through hardship. So it was just really hard to get the funding down. And then, once we did have the funding down, then you have to think about decorations and flowers. And oh my goodness, it was just so overwhelming. And we hadn't even thought about an altar. And the moment when you guys reached out, it was just like, oh my gosh, like everything provided, the picture, the altar, the flowers, candles, little, you gave us t-shirts, you gave us buttons. Those t-shirts that you gave me, I still wear all the time. And they're one of those memories of like, I hope you know how loved you are. I cannot tell you how many times that message, like, just, I held on to it. And like I said, I'm just such a huge fan. And this is definitely like a very emotional, like episode for me, just because of, again, the impact that you guys have made in my life and continue making every year, whether you guys are actively a part of, my life or not. Like, that is something that has just been the most beautiful experience I've gotten to share with my family. So thank you guys. And there's just so much love for you. So much.
Just thank you for sharing all of that with us, and thank you for just all of those words. And I think for us, it's been an honor to get to know you over the years. And for us, the gateway to that was your father's passing. And I think for us, there was a point where I think you shared your father's story in a way that allowed our community and so many that were suffering in silence to really acknowledge the loss and the grief and the family members we were losing during the pandemic. And so for us, your father, and many of our projects and our work in the years since, learning about him and getting to meet you and your beautiful family has played such a role in so many of the projects we've done around the country and around the city.
That means so much to me. Like, you have no idea. And when you guys shared that with us, this last Pride event, you guys spoke to my sister and shared that information with her. She had no idea. She went home and told everyone. She's like, oh my God, do you guys know, like, this organization? And honestly, you guys, like, I have no way to kind of like thank you. And there's been other folks who I came in contact with during that time of my life, and it's just been such a journey from there to here. And you guys have just always been a positive force, and it's been so beautiful to heal with you, and to see your growth and to see you guys providing that same healing for others. Like Maria said, we're so proud. Like, we're so proud to know you guys, to be a part of that story. My dad's legacy, again, to continue and to impact you guys the way that it did. And, just grief is an extension of love. And to know that the love I have for my dad was just so inspiring that it did touch you guys. It's the only thing I could ask for after losing him, is to continue sharing his legacy and, the love that he instilled in me and my siblings. And it's just amazing. But I want to ask you guys, like, where did the idea of, I know it started off with like shooting victims of
It was Pulse, wasn't it? The catalyst for...
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. When the Pulse shooting happened in Orlando, it was kind of one of the first times where, to this date, it's been the deadliest attack on the LGBT plus community. in like American history. And so when that happened, it was kind of like, I mean, we grew up with a bunch of, tragedy. And so, being in school when Columbine happened, or growing up and, 9/11 happening, we're kind of like witnesses to these like, mass like tragedies of mass deaths.
Loss of life.
Yeah. And so when Pulse happened, it was one of the first times where there was like a little bit of a stronger connection of just because who was targeted and how the lives were lost. They were in celebration. They were at a club. For a lot of us, going out to gay bars or gay clubs is kind of like the places where we go recharge.
Yeah.
Some people have said like, it's kind of like our church.
Yeah.
And so for that to happen there, kind of really, it created a pause for us. And so it was kind of one of those moments where, the queer community was like, we're never going to forget. We're never going to forget. We're going to continue honoring these names. And, the first year anniversary, a lot of the things were kind of directed towards honoring their legacy and honoring their, like, what had happened. And on the second year anniversary, it was kind of feeling like we were starting to forget.
Yeah.
It was kind of feeling like we were trying, in moving past it, we were kind of like moving over the stories and kind of not remembering what had happened. So kind of, it pushed us to, try to find a way to provide a space for our community where we can kind of go back to that, where we don't have to look past it. We can, look at these, very tragic things that are very like grief stricken. And, normally we don't necessarily know what to easily like do with those emotions. So the project originally started like around the second year anniversary of Pulse, and alongside the LA Pride Parade, we set up a very like the first version of kind of like these altares, where we had a photo of each of the individuals. We had their names, and we set out flowers. So for anybody that was kind of like on the parade route, they were able to, take a flower and leave it and kind of like honor that little bit of like that pain and that hurt that had happened. And that's kind of like what inspired our practice of taking time to kind of sit with the grief and not kind of like run away from it, kind of like look at it head on, and to be able to do it publicly and with community. Because a lot of the times, grief kind of we navigate it by ourselves, or we navigate it in silence.
Yeah.
So, trying to see what additional ways we can, do to kind of make that process a little bit easier.
What have you learned through experiencing and processing grief in community?
I think that both of us come from families that are kind of steeped generationally in grief. And there's different cycles that we've seen that we've now become a part of that come from our parents and our grandparents and our great grandparents, and really kind of the loss that they endured that kind of created us in so many ways. But I think for us, there was this point of going like, can we handle loss? Can we handle grief? I think it's always been like the scariest thing in the world to us.
Yeah.
And I think practicing grief or showing up for a loved one that has lost someone close to them is one of the most challenging things for us to do.
Yeah.
And there's this sort of kind of weight that takes over us. And so I think what we've tried to practice and what we continue practice is the more we can try showing up for those that we love that are going through it, the more we're actually able to like do more of it. It's actually like when you turn into that loss, when you turn into that weight, when you turn into that space, and you make time for a loved one, a friend, a stranger, whoever it may be, that there's a power in that of inviting them to allow you to show you the fullness of who they are and where they've come from and what they're going through. And so what we found over time that compassion is kind of this emotion that we center a lot of our work on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this kind of like energizing emotion, an emotion that charges you up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but you're actually working through the most difficult things. And I think what we try and practice and remind people that we're each capable of is practicing that muscle of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way for us, you know, maybe it's not now, maybe we have a loved one or a friend that we've been trying to reach out to. And it takes time to kind of build up to that text message or that call
Mm-hmm.
or that reach out. But it's that sort of thing of allowing ourselves to go like, no, I know that if I was in that person's position, how much that moment or that space would mean to me,
Mm-hmm.
and how we could continue kind of reflecting or practicing that for one another,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of mirroring one another, of just kind of like allowing ourselves to kind of invite all of ourselves into the space
Yeah.
in many ways.
Yeah, I like what you said about, sitting with your grief, and it's almost like not being afraid of it, because you're never really gonna not experience grief. But I think, like you said, it's practicing that compassion. It's that muscle. It's building that muscle memory of being compassionate to yourself and to your friends, to your family, and sort of like you said, like surrendering yourself to that grief, and giving yourself time and space to feel these feelings, not run away from them, because traditionally a lot of cultures sort of tend to suppress these negative feelings, and these like, in my, like, growing up, it was very hard for me to express my feelings. My mom, looking at her and the way she grew up and the way my grandmother showed up, I grew up, there wasn't a lot of space for that. So I really like that you are very conscious about providing that space, because a lot of people are afraid to talk about grief and loss, and that makes it almost a little taboo. And then it makes it hard for when you are experiencing that loss. Who do you talk to? How do you
Yeah.
bring this
It's
up?
so isolating. It's so isolating. And I think that a lot of us went through that isolation on top of being isolated, and, because of the external factors, a lot of us went into isolation in the following years, dealing with the grief that we did. And a lot of us didn't lose one family member, two family members. We lost entire families, entire communities. I lost, in the same family, I lost a Nina, a Nino, and, one of their children. And that was three family members there. A friend of mine lost both his parents and his sister, and it was just him left behind. And, he had a whole family last year, and then this year, like, he doesn't. And so after that, how do you cope? How do you come out of that? And, like, it's in my experience going through that with a bunch of folks, because a lot of people didn't go through that, right? A lot of people didn't lose anyone, didn't get sick, didn't experience that part of COVID. But if you did experience it, you knew how horrible it was. You knew that your loved one was in an icebox somewhere for way longer than they needed to be. Mm-hmm. And you weren't able to, do a proper, like, goodbye, right? And so, again, like, healing in community, it was so hard. There was not really spaces for that. And that, again, like, that's something that I held on to with you guys throughout that process, is like, you guys didn't only provide altars for my dad, like, you guys kind of were providing altars for other families as well. And you guys have continued that, right? And you guys don't only provide altars for victims of mass shootings. You guys have gone ahead and provided altars for other tragedies that have resulted in loss of life. And so, like, I think there's just such an understanding when in conversation with you guys that that compassion is so much deeper than, relating to the that, like, everybody's gonna die. But I think it's more of like, you guys are taking care of, like, everyone who's being left behind. And that's something that, you know, families and friends don't really realize that we need that, you know, after our loved ones pass. You do need that continuous, like, check-in. And, you know, but I'm just want to remind everyone that you guys are tuned in to Las Comadres on KROJ 101.5 FM. And we're going to be going on a quick little break. You guys are tuned in with Comadre Maria and Comadre Diosy. And we're here with our compas, Classroom of Compassion, Dave and Noah. Hi, everyone. You guys are tuned in to Las Comadres. I'm Comadre Diosy, and I'm here with Comadre Maria. And we're here in the city of San Fernando at Pueblo y Salud in the KROJ studios. This is 101.5 FM, Radio Olin. And we are here with the lovely Classroom of Compassion. You know, we've been kind of talking about a little bit of sadness in the room, which is totally okay. Like we said, we're learning how to hold compassion. We're learning how to hold space in times of grief. And, you know, Comadre Maria, you and I actually had one of our first actual real conversations we had was on a bus. And we were talking about our dads. And we both lost our dads actually during COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that we sort of bonded over. I mean, I can't remember who said it, but it's almost like when you're like in the dead parents club, like
you said it.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
The dead parents club. And I think for me, it was, I don't think I've actually processed the loss of my father. It's been about 3 years now. He passed at the beginning of January of 2021 due to complications of COVID. He was very old though, so I wasn't fully like shocked that he had passed, but the circumstances of not being able to be with him were very difficult. He lived in Peru, and I'm originally from Peru, so I immigrated when I was a child, and I grew up in California, here in Los Angeles, and then San Fernando Valley. And I didn't get a lot of chances to visit my father. But going to Peru is such a, like, going abroad to visit your home country. It's sometimes such a big deal, and you know, a lot of resources and effort go into that. And I didn't really get a chance to do that in the later years of his life. So when COVID happened, and then it was like, no, you absolutely cannot see him, and that was really hard. And I really didn't have a way to grieve or deal with that because it happened so fast, and I think I'm just still trying to wrap my head around the fact that I lost my father and I wasn't there with him, and I haven't been able to be back in a number of years. So that was something that we bonded over, was just how we lost our fathers near this. And you lost your father at the end of December of 2020. And I lost my father at the beginning of 2021. So like right there next to each other. And it was a hard time not being able to go back. But knowing that I wasn't alone.
Leaning into community.
Leaning into the community space of being able to say like, hey, you know,
I know what you're going through.
I know what you're going through, and maybe not totally because you had your father very, very close, like locally, and my father was like abroad. So, but it was nice to be able to grieve a little in one way, because I really haven't been able to grieve fully, just because it's just working things out on my own. But so it was lovely to find a like-minded person that sort of understood what I was coming from. So
thank you for sharing, Maria.
Yeah.
But sorry you guys, I'm so awkward when it comes to these things. Like I'm like, I don't know how to segue into the next.
Well, what that brought up and what I was thinking, and thank you for just sharing that about your father. And I think for all of us, and this is central to the work that we do in the Classroom of Compassion, is that there's no time frame for us to get over someone's loss. There's no time frame for us of how long we can grieve for, in what way we feel is necessary to grieve. And I think, we were talking during the break how we're all students of LAUSD, and I don't think any of us got a class or a handbook that taught us how to deal with grief or loss. It's not part of our culture. If anything, our culture really, in all of our spaces, pushes out all of that time or space to grieve, whether it's having to work a retail job and ask for days off to attend your parents' memorial or take the time that you need. I think this fact that we're so often have these time frames or these ways, and I think one of the just kind of first big things that we try and practice or share is that there is no right way, there is no time frame, and there really shouldn't be. And I think it's a very Western sort of thing for us to be like, keep going, we hope to see you on Monday.
Very bootstrap mentality.
Yeah. And the more we can kind of deprogram ourselves or kind of challenge that, and it comes from those conversations with one another and how we share, and to be like, no, that's exactly what I'm going through. And I think just that's a beautiful thing to also learn about the friendship that the two of y'all have.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But I did want to just talk about maybe some of the positive work that y'all have seen, some of the positive impact. I was going to say earlier, but I didn't get a chance to. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, there was the drag march in West Hollywood. And I went on my own because I this was pre Diosy, so I didn't have
Diosy wasn't around.
She was not around, and I just had to take myself out on a date to West Hollywood for the march. And I remember walking into the West Hollywood Park and seeing those beautiful altars y'all made for some of the queens that had passed. And I didn't even actually make that connection until I was going through some of my photos last night or the other day, and I was like, these arches are really familiar. Where have I these tables? And I was like, oh my God, they were there. That was them. And so how did y'all get connected with the drag community? I know that y'all were just recently part of DragCon. Y'all were very, very kind and have me volunteer with y'all. It was such a lovely time.
Anytime again, please,
it was
please.
amazing.
MVP.
Yeah.
Maria is the best.
I had people, I was like, hey, you want to make a burger? Just come on, you're going to have a seat. I was like, I have people here, need a crown here, there. It was just so fun.
You want an easy flowing time? Hire Maria.
Yeah.
And it was so lovely to meet all the other volunteers. Des was there.
Yes.
Chelsea showed up, and just Molly, I think, was there too. Very, very lovely gals. And was it Monique? Was it Monique? What was her name?
It was, for now, it is Monique.
Monique was there.
Monica? I forget what her name is. Short gal, super fun, wearing glasses.
Marilyn.
Yes.
Who I feel like she would also appreciate us calling her Monique.
It was just such a fun time, and just getting to meet Sabiana was there too.
Yes.
I mean, I just so many fun people, and I think my ultimate dream was just to be there around the queens, and I saw so many that I recognized from TV, and then got a chance to meet Queen Kong through y'all, which I have my picture. I have this little digital frame. She's seen the little digital frame, and I put that picture in there because that's just like
when it pops up.
It was just, and then now to see her perform, I think she's gonna win. I'm Team Queen Kong.
Same, we're Team Queen Kong here.
How did y'all get connected with the drag community, and how does that been for y'all?
Yeah. So something that we kind of share, one of our core beliefs is that queer people make the world a more compassionate place through kind of the experiences that we've been through, for a lot of us kind of, feeling like we have to navigate kind of in solidarity. So knowing, you know, what it's like to feel like othered, and to show kindness to somebody else. So that's kind of like where we kind of like navigate with the like everything queer. So a lot of the times when we travel to these cities around the country after shootings, and we're creating these memorials, for us to recharge, we go to gay bars, we go to, you know, gay clubs. And so often we're, you know, our recharge is by watching a drag show. And for us, or for me personally, I kind of see drag queens as like queer historians. They're kind of like, they're storytellers. They kind of like hold kind of like the queer community together in a lot of ways. So to be, for me, I feel honored to be able to like have that connection to drag without being a drag queen myself. Yet.
Yeah. There we go. I like that.
But yeah, I think that's where our connection to kind of like drag queens come from, and kind of why we gravitate towards them. You know, they're always on. They're always providing a space for a community. We know like a performance artist. Her name is Kiki Extravaganza, and she'll hang out at clubs wearing this like plastic mask, and that's just who she is. Like she'll be wearing these like wild, beautiful costumes, and her thing is like she always wants to just inspire like for people to go up to her and feel joy. So that's kind of like that's what her job at a club is. So she goes into it very focused. She goes into it very like, this is what I want to do for the night. This is how I want to inspire people. And she's like very kind to people. And we've hung out with her quite a bit of times, and she shared like, you know, sometimes people will come up to me and they'll say they're having like the worst day, or, you know, they just got fired from their job and they're here at the club, and that like what I was wearing like made them smile or made them laugh. So I think for a lot of like drag queens, that's kind of like their same, like they're there to like remind queer people that it's, you know, okay to have a good time as well. And so we kind of like, that's how we recharge. And so when we do DragCon, we originally went, you know, because we are such huge fans of the show. And, you know, kind of we got our booth, and for the first year we were kind of, you know, just a little pop-up.
I remember your first year.
Yeah, we were neighbors with the Los Angeles Public Library, which was like the biggest honor in the world to us. So we were just like geeking out, and it was one of those first times of kind of practicing coming back together after through COVID, and kind of what does it look like to come together again and to kind of create community again. And so Dave and I with DragCon, we used to go all the time, like year after year after year, as just like a kind of yearly tradition. And I remember there was one year, I think, where it landed on my birthday, and I had one of those like really like spiraling, like we were so excited for DragCon, and I was like battery at 1%, just like in the depths of the darkness,
going through it.
She was going through it.
Oh.
And I remember we were walking to the convention center where DragCon is held, and there was these megaphones just shouting out just different slurs against the queer community.
Oh no.
Just broadcasting hate and kind of saying you're unworthy.
Yeah.
You're this. And a lot of those things that were being said started crossing with, I was going like, I was just saying that to myself. That I'm not going to say that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and kind of realizing like how we challenge that kind of inner critic, or that inner saboteur is one of the ways RuPaul always refers to it. And so Dave and I were being kind of like shouted out by this like kind of religious group that had gathered to protest DragCon this year. And they, you know, they have these large banners, all of these kind of slurs that they're shouting. And Dave and I, in this moment, I just remember being so like sad and also so angry. And I grabbed his hand, and we grabbed each other, and we just started making out in front of this group that was just like laying it in on us in a way that was just like pummeling
You're
like
gonna
us,
fight
and
back.
we're like, we're gonna just like
You're just
make
gonna
out.
love each other.
And the like everyone started cheering, and everyone created a line and just started doing this like, sort of same
Kiss train.
moment. And a lot of people have this experience of like how we confront the bullies that are around us in these ways. And so often it's like there's no negotiating with that person screaming at us on the megaphone. We can just embolden by being our true authentic selves. And so we think of all the people that go to DragCon, and that moment was just like one of those small moments where we got to practice love while just being kind of in the face of hate in that sort of way.
Yeah.
And so we started kind of creating this space that we've now done for 3 years at DragCon, where we invite people who so often are coming to that event for the first time. It's a family-friendly event. There's children. There's many people practicing being in drag for the first time. And it's kind of this protected area during this time when our community finds itself more and more under attack. It's a safe space to kind of practice being these kind of extended versions of yourself, or practice being these other kind of characters, or whatever you want, this kind of limitless creativity and limitless love. And what we practice at DragCon is this lesson to help connect the community back to our queer history. And so we work to honor Marsha P. Johnson by doing this flower crown lesson for the community, and you get to create your own fresh flower crown. And we had the most incredible teacher walking so many people through creating the fiercest flower crowns. But we kind of create this space where we see drag queens in so many ways being on the front lines of that kind of growing hate that we're seeing. And we're seeing it around the San Fernando Valley.
Yes.
Many of us have grown up with it in our households, or still internalizing ourselves and working on that. And so I think a lot of these ways of how we can practice being our queer authentic selves, and also just practice being fierce, and getting to see show after show and see Queen Kong do a barrel roll and all of these things. Like, it's an abundance of riches for us. And I think for us, we're so often in a space of practicing in grief, that we really do like look at the ways that we can balance those parts of ourselves, and not try and hide or push things away and suppress things, but how we can say, I'm going to nourish this part of me to allow myself to acknowledge, like, damn, I'm going through it in this moment. And I think that's what, when we talk about self-compassion, is so often what we're going to or talking to, is that sort of these little ways that we allow ourselves to experience and practice joy in a world that also kind of stomps out those opportunities so often.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
So many wise words.
I know.
Thank you guys so much. And as we're rounding out our hour here, are there any workshops? You mentioned having the altar workshop coming up, I think this Sunday?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
This Sunday, we will be hosting a workshop, kind of like this, a smaller version of the altars that we make around the country. But we're inviting our community to stop by. We're going to be making smaller, smaller wood tabletop altars. And we're kind of, bringing in the traditions and the flowers of Dia de Muertos. So we're going to be able to kind of work with the marigold flowers and kind of be a little bit, lean into a little bit more of like the ritual of altares. And all that information is on our website, classroomofcompassion.com. We're going to be hosting it at Somos Familia Valle, which is an incredible organization here in the San Fernando Valley.
Yes.
Shout out Somos Familia.
Shout
out.
We were just celebrating y'all.
10 years.
Yeah, so we're really excited to be able for them to volunteer that space for us to be able to do this workshop. But we're super, super excited, and we're really, like, this is the first time that we've done it in quite a bit of time. So I think it's the perfect time, right, for Dia de Muertos coming up.
Yeah. You said this Sunday, right?
This Sunday, October 27th.
Yeah, hopefully we can make it.
I think we can make it.
Yeah, I think we
we
can.
can make it. I mean, I think it would be lovely. I don't know if y'all have enough volunteers, but as always,
We'll be there.
myself and Diosy, I don't want to speak for you, but myself definitely am available to volunteer and help y'all that day. I mean, it's such an important cause, and it's it could be part of my healing process. Being able to build an altar for my father. I've actually never done that. I think I would love to do something like that, and then also, spend time with other people that are looking to do a little bit of healing, remember their ancestors, hold on to some traditions, and make some traditions of your own.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and again, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you guys can please share with our listeners where they can get a hold of you guys on social media. I know you guys just shared your website, but how can folks find you on social media?
So y'all can find us on Instagram at Classroom of Compassion. And we're also on TikTok at Classroom of Compassion. And for us, we are an organization based here in the San Fernando Valley that activates after mass shootings that take place around the country. And so often for us, it's those moments of how we can amplify finding support and resources for these communities that we travel to, that we broadcast on those channels and on our website and newsletter. And so if you're interested in learning about us, those are the places, and we would love to meet y'all. We would love to share space with y'all, and if you can make it out Sunday, we hope to see y'all there.
And once again, they will be at Somos Familia Valle. If you guys want to get in contact with Somos Familia Valle as well, they are also on Instagram at Somos Familia Valle. But once again, you guys, this is Comadre Diosy
And Comadre Maria.
and we are Las Comadres on KROJ 101.5 FM. This show is a segment of Voces Unidas, and we are produced by Valley Views SFE Media and Voces Unidas in Pacoima. Again, special shout out to our sponsors, Prime One Design, Maria's Tamales, and Superior Carco. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Pueblo y Salud and Valley Views SFE Media. Next show we have is going to be Voces Unidas, which will be next Monday, and we will be having Sylvia on from UCLA. So keep in tune with us, and we'll catch y'all next time. Bye.